welcome to Mondays with Marthie. Today I have a very special guest. It's Niel Mostert. He is a counseling psychologist and he is very excited about youth and their exposure to the new world of work. So please tell us what you do.
Okay, Marthie, as you know, we've been talking about this for ages, eh? And originally I was a teacher, and I believe one's mind keep on working like a teacher's, even though I'm in psychology field at the moment. So yeah, my passion's always been, I've worked for a state department where I was responsible for the Careers 2000 exhibitions, organizing it. And after another 26,000 pupils going through this exhibition, I realized, what are we doing? Because they're gathering pamphlets and they're clueless and they're not motivated and they don't think further than the matric end exam. So the challenge was to actually get them to actively involved in their own careers or their own futures, which somehow is still the mystery of psychometric testing, is still controlling mothers, especially mothers, because usually dads just write the check and the mother bring the child to be tested and to be told what he should do for the rest of his life. Now, as you know, there is no rest of your life anymore. You don't become something anymore. The more valid question is, what are you going to do first, not what are you going to become. I needn't quote all the experts in the last 10 years predicting that kids will be doing 10 and 15 careers or types of jobs in their lifetimes. In fact, it's called portfolio careering or protean careering, referring to the god who could change his shape as circumstances.
So it's like evolving and becoming a better
You've got to
version of you.
reinvent yourself all the time, and therefore you can't really start out with trying to match yourself with a niche of a description in a book of what a lawyer is all about. I don't know a lawyer that hasn't got a sideline, except for those that are well established in old firms. It's not fun every day to be in careers that used to be associated with high status, with nice lives. It's just the contents of it is just totally different. So that natural need to close your identity by the end of your school career, by getting confirmation or affirmation from somebody more clever than your parents that you are, voila, the ideal plumber. Unlikely, but
They make a lot of money.
Yes.
They do.
I don't think people realize to what extent career counselors are being used by children to get confirmation that the parents can write the check for the car and get the flat in the university town, and the rest is detail.
Yes, studying and passing. So I want to know, what's the biggest challenge and what is the most satisfying thing about your job?
Oh, the biggest challenge, I think, is to get the influence of those around that specific individual, to get them to back off. I'm not talking about developmental work. I'm now talking about planning your future, and also in the mind of that child. I mean, so many young people still walk around with the nagging feeling of guilt because they know how expensive the course is that they're going to study, and they know they've got a single mother raising them, and they know that, or they are confused because their dad that doesn't live in the same house has got other ideas and other dreams.
Expectations, huh?
You know, recently, should be careful, but recently I've worked with somebody not so young who is studying close to a final year, who is clear about it. Her father said he wasn't going to pay what she wanted to do, so she's doing totally something different because he will pay for that. Now,
That's very
I'm
polite
gobsmacked.
name.
2018, I didn't think that, it's like telling somebody who to marry. To me, it's
Yeah.
just.
It's like an organized marriage with your career.
Yeah. So that's the big challenge, is to actually get to step one, because it's almost like you got to go underground. You got to go
Go back to the starting blocks.
level A. Where do you come from? What influences you? What are your expectations for lifestyle? What is that unspoken picture in your mind before you even? Because so many of them are using such a lot of energy just to manipulate the questionnaires, or to keep the conversation with you at a level where it doesn't go beyond what they were willing to explore.
So giving safe answers and the expected answer instead of what the real answer is.
And even accepting those profiles. And if they don't get it, you will often hear that they say, no, that those testing it's not worth much. I could manipulate it. But why would you want to manipulate your blood test?
And the other thing I
So
wanted...
that's a frustration
Yeah.
with the challenge. But I think I often say that if we could start with this preparation in primary school. Why primary school? Pre-adolescence. Because Abram was willing to sacrifice Isaac. Why? Because he was in grade 9.
Teenager.
Grade 9 is basically the entrance into full-blown adolescence, where you're suddenly very aware of your pecking order in the group, who's the clever guys, who's the cool guys, who are the teachers you don't like. So suddenly subject choice and all kinds of other things are being influenced by factors that were not there when you were 12 and 13.
Mm.
So that would be the right age to lay the foundation of a mindset of entrepreneurial thinking. I don't know how many people are aware of the concept
That
of
is
the
a subject for another
yes,
video,
the
I think.
innovator's DNA. I
Yeah.
mean, it's concrete 5 steps. If you can install that in every child pre-adolescence, I think one would make giant strides into erasing those complicated factors from adolescence.
So what's the best part about your job?
Oh, absolutely. It just encompasses just about everything you can think of, from creativity. Every person is unique sitting in front of you, and then also to see those who see the light, who actually accept and go and work with what you give them, and coming back or reporting back and say, it wasn't what we spoke about, but that led me to this. And
Happy.
absolutely, and seeing them flourish. Yeah, especially in quite, I think it's the most complicated world for school leavers. I can't say ever, because I don't know what it was post World War, but it must be. It's easy, but it's at the same time very complicated. And
Intimidating.
and if your parents have got the funds for you to do one thing, you feel that pressure. You may not make a mistake, but you know what? They're going to make that decision many times. So it's about making the right decision for step 1, for the first phase, for the first 8 years of your career, nothing further. And to give them an experience of what that is. That's almost like, if I can use a metaphor, in the old days it was like buying a car. You know what you can afford, you know what you like, you know what suits your image, you know what the second-hand value is. So that represents your interest, your personality, your values. But in the meantime, the roads have been vanishing. There's no predictable, I become a teacher, then I become a head of department, then I become a vice principal, then I become a principal, then I become a inspector of schools. That predictable career in many fields doesn't exist anymore.
Well, there's not a clear line of where you should be going. You create it while you're in it, no?
So you need the extra skills that you will need to go off-road. And that means you need to be able to read the GPS. You need to know what kind of basis you've got, what gradients you can actually see yourself doing in the beginning of this whole journey of yours. Where you're going to rest, where maybe for a year you're going to take off to build a house, but then you've got a plan that 15 years up till then is going to do it for you.
No, support that
after which
dream.
you don't have to do the same thing again. So there are many of the concepts of 4x4ing that's actually
you're gonna
ideal.
develop that. He's gonna develop that. Shh, don't tell anybody. And then the last thing I want to ask you is, what do you still plan for the future? Because I have a couple of plans for you, but I know you've got something up your sleeve.
Well, I will leave most of them up my sleeve at the moment. But I think the big problem is to work through the resistance of people still thinking old school. Okay. So if I can actually establish something that helps with a yeast effect to get people to be less academic achievement orientated, to realize that the fully functioning school leavers skills profile must actively be pursued. And for that, as you know, I'm talking about job clubs and I'm talking about all kinds of structures that can actually take kids into this new world of work, whether it's using metaphors, whether it's using the structure of a job club, with the help of commerce and industry, who knows that the profile of the worker of the future that they need is not the profile that the schools are giving them.
Yeah, it's sort of a mismatch.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, if you ask me then about my passion for the future, is to actually contribute a little bit of the bridge between those.
That sounds so exciting. Thank you very much for sharing your view. And I'm very excited. We're going to be doing stuff together and you must just keep your ear on the ground. Thank you a lot.